So good afternoon, everyone. Happy week after Thanksgiving. I know that we took last Wednesday and Monday off, and we are back and we have great programs ahead. And just to remind you that who do we have tomorrow, Jonathan?
Tomorrow is our kickoff of Fempreneur
That's
with
right.
Liftoff
Tomorrow.
Pittsburgh, which is very exciting.
Right. So that's great. So I'm Audrey, President and CEO of the Pittsburgh Technology Council and of a nonprofit called 40 by 80. Jonathan Kirsting is here with us, and he's Vice President of all things marketing and storytelling at the Tech Council. And we want to give big shout outs to Huntington Bank because they've believed in us right from the beginning. If you don't know them, get to know them. They are very civic minded. They have been pivotal in terms of what's happened since the pandemic, but they're always pivotal. And they're very, very passionate about making sure that technology and innovation thrives in our region. So we always thank them for our belief in all of our work and our experiments as well. So we've muted your microphones, and today we're in for a lot of fun, and hopefully a lot of appreciation for what exists inside of Pittsburgh that is something that is world renowned and very, very important. So important in terms of speech, in terms of journalism, as well as music. And we're going to hear a little bit about it because there's so much to talk about. I am going to just pass the baton in 2 seconds to remind everyone that we've muted your microphones and that Jonathan is looking at the chat. So we have some time to talk to Andres. And then lucky City of Asylum, because today is Giving Tuesday. So there will be some links that inside the chat as well. I know many of us have been bombarded and reminded that Giving Tuesday is an important part of our regional ecosystem to build and support nonprofits. So City of Asylum is no different. So now I'm very thrilled to welcome Andrés Franco, who has been with City of Asylum. I think, is it 5 weeks? Is today the mark of 5 weeks?
Today is exactly the 2-month mark. So I started on October 1st.
Okay, the 2-month mark. Okay, so welcome. And let's just jump in. Let's jump in and just say, who is Andres? Who is Andres? What has been his journey? How did he get to the work that he's doing right now? Because it's definitely not a traditional route, which I love. And I love the fact that he has reinvented himself. And there are many pieces and parts that I want him to explain. So Andres, tell us a little bit about yourself. Just sort of shape the conversation when you came to the United States, Pittsburgh, and some of your other work.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Colombia, South America, and I moved to the US 20 years ago in August. I am a US citizen now. I celebrated my 5th anniversary as a US citizen exactly a week ago, and very happy to be here. I am a conductor and pianist by training. And that's why I moved to the United States to study music. And eventually I became the resident conductor of the Pittsburgh Symphony Orchestra about 5 years ago. And along the way, I picked up many different skills. I'll tell you the fun ones first. I became a certified barista during the pandemic. I love everything coffee. But I also worked with nonprofits, not only orchestras. I was the executive director of a project called Caminos del Inca, which is, just to explain it in a nutshell, is like Yo-Yo Ma's The Silk Road project, but for South America and Central America. So I was the executive director of that organization 10 years ago, and I started learning about so many different things. I love literature, I love the arts, I love music, obviously. I love building community. I'm also an immigrant here in the United States. So when I moved to Pittsburgh, I read this article in the New York Times, one of those 36 hours in Pittsburgh.
Oh.
And the first stop was one of the house publications of City of Asylum. So I was really intrigued by the organization, like an organization that defends freedom of expression and at the same time builds community and advances redevelopment and economic development here in the North Side. I was very intrigued. And started coming to programs, started actually hosting programs because of a partnership with the Pittsburgh Symphony, and became more and more familiar with the family here, with the City of Asylum family. So that's how I got where I am right now. The story is actually really good because I was emailing with the co-founders, Diane Samuels and Henry Rees, about different things. This is like in the middle of the pandemic, and one of the emails they write me Andres, do you have a clone? We have been looking for an executive director, and if you had a clone, that person would be great to run City of Asylum. And I don't have a clone, but I love the organization so much that I said, you know, let's meet, let's talk about it. We may be able to find creative ways for me to get more involved, and we started talking. And you know, the organization is so exciting to be here at City of Asylum that the conversation continued. I met with board members, I met with staff members, and the conversation never ended. We are in the middle of it. I became executive director and very happy to be here.
And so tell us a little bit about City of Asylum. And I don't know if you want to show a little clip of a video while you talk about the mission. And yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so let me show. City of Asylum started 16 years ago, and our co-founders, this is one of the properties. Are you seeing the house right now? Just want to make sure.
Yes.
So this is a property on Samsonia Way here in the north side. And they decided to bring a writer who had been incarcerated and tortured in China. And they decided to give this home, just make this home available for this writer to come and live there. And this was a part of an organization that is called ICORN, the International Cities of Refuge Network, that is now based in Norway and has around 70 cities worldwide, where writers who are persecuted can find a safe house, a safe place to live, a sanctuary. So it started just by bringing that one writer from China to this house. And the experience grew from that because what happened was, this was and is still a Wang Zhang, a very engaging artist. And one of the first things he said was, I want to carve my poems on the side of Mount Washington, which of course was a great idea. But Diane and Henry said, that's a great idea. Why don't we start with a more manageable project? How about you paint your poems on the facade of your house? And that's what we're looking at right now. Wang Zhang actually painted with Chinese calligraphy his own poems. And this is just a beautiful place. This was the first stop, by the way, in the New York Times article. Was this particular house was the first stop and the first place I visited when I decided to follow that route. But many things happened when he arrived. I mean, first of all, he started creating this beautiful public art. But also, as people walked by the street and they saw this, they stopped and wanted to learn more about him. And he spoke, and I think he still speaks very little English. But he would recite his poems to anyone who would listen to them in Chinese. And then people realized that sometimes, even though you don't understand the language, just by listening to a poem and by connecting with an artist, your life changes. And people started writing their own poems. I'm talking about neighbors, not poets, but neighbors who just decided, well, you know, this guy is writing poetry in his house. The least I can do is write a poem. And then they started sliding them under the door or through the mail slot. And it became a very special moment for the community when they started interacting with Wang Zhang. Then we started presenting concerts here right in front of his house. And then little by little, we realized that by bringing those writers, we changed as a community. And we were the ones who gained the most. Of course, you know, we are providing sanctuary to these writers, but we as a community are the ones who gain the most. We become stronger, and we are also standing up to defend, to protect creative freedom. You know, the mission statement for City of Asylum is to build community by protecting and celebrating creative free expression. So that's in a nutshell what we do. We build community, we protect freedom of expression, but we also celebrate it in many different ways. So this was the first house publication, which was another side of the organization. This is economic development. This were derelict homes in the north side. And then little by little, they were transformed into this beautiful alley. I'll show you some more pictures. You can see here, Samsonia Way. This is the Jazz House. This one, you can see the side of the Burma House. And further down the road, you see the house poem, the one in Chinese, and the winged house over here. So it really transformed the city and the neighborhood in a very physical, palpable way. This is the Alphabet Reading Garden, and this is our headquarters. This is a former Masonic building that was redeveloped into Alphabet City. just to give you an idea of the scope of our programs, this project, the Alphabet City project, was a $10.7 million redevelopment of a block in the city that had been vacant for a number of years. The Garden Theater, you can see it, but it's right next to us. And because of this, this has become an anchor point of the redevelopment of the north side in general. I just, by mere coincidence, happened to live in the north side, just on Samsonia Way, just about 2 blocks from Alphabet City, and another 2 blocks from the House publications. So Diana and Henry said that this was like one of those folk tales where they go looking for a treasure or somebody all around the world, and then they find it right in the tree in front of your house. So that's sort of what happened with me. I had been a neighbor and friend of City of Asylum for a number of years. And when the moment came, then I decided to do it. So I have definitely experienced firsthand what City of Asylum has done for the north side, for Pittsburgh. And for me as a citizen of the world, also very important for the United States and the world.
So that's a beautiful story. And I know you have a very long commute going to work, right?
Yes, today was very painful. I had to walk for 1.5 minutes under treacherous conditions. I did have boots on.
So you mentioned one thing, and I think it's important for people to understand the importance of this organization to the world as well, because there's really not, I mean, are there organizations like City of Asylum around the world, and sort of talk about what that means in terms of Pittsburgh, because this is a very fascinating and important economic development piece that is not something that's typically written about in terms of practice, but what they've done is been able to apply this. So where do we sit in the world in terms of City of Asylum?
So we sit at the very top when it comes to cities of refuge. As I mentioned, we are part of this network ICORN. We are the US headquarters for ICORN. And we had our 15-year gala just about 2 months ago. And we had 2 very important literary figures, Salman Rushdie, which I'm sure you remember, he wrote the Satanic Verses, and there was a fatwa, an assassination rule written against him, and he had to go into hiding. And there was another one, the North American writer, Russell Banks, and they were part of the gala. And they both said that Pittsburgh is the model for the world in terms of cities of refuge. And that is because even though we are the only grassroots organization in the whole network, the network is 70 cities plus, many of them in Europe, some of them in the United States, some of them in Mexico. And we are the only one that is not government supported or connected to a university. Most of the other ones just work with a university or a city government in Europe in particular. But even though we are the only grassroots organization in the whole network, we are now the largest endangered writer and artist sanctuary in the world, right here in Pittsburgh.
Right here.
And we are now hosting 5 writers and artists concurrently. Just to give you an idea, no other city in the whole network hosts more than 2. So we are more than double larger than the other cities of refuge. So for me, it was reaffirming and a little bit daunting when you hear Salman Rushdie say, this is the model for the world. This is the way that it should be done. But it's also very exciting and inspiring to be leading the organization now. So in terms of numbers, we have had 9 exiled writers throughout the years. As I said, we have right now 5 exiled writers and artists concurrently. We have built now 4 house publications. There's one more coming in the spring. And we are very happy to be here. I now make the distinction writers and artists, because we welcome for the first time in the history of City of Asylum, we welcomed on election day our very first exiled musician in residence through a partnership with the University of Pittsburgh. Her name is Mai Khoi, and she comes from Vietnam. And we are very interested because we have always had literary writers in the houses, but now by having a musician, the dynamics change a little bit in the ecosystem. She's very interested in working with the writers, and the writers are very interested in working with her. And of course, we have a great musical tradition here in Pittsburgh, both classical music, folk music, and jazz. And we definitely want to make sure that she gets to work with many of the Pittsburgh musicians as well as our writers.
No, it is really exciting. And I know that you have a little excerpt, which we're going to share in a second, but I want to do an inquiry about the pivot. And I know that happened before you came, but you had to make a dramatic pivot as an organization during a time of COVID. And what happened? What changed? Talk about the impact that you've had across the community.
So this is something that happened before I came on board, and one of the reasons why I really wanted to work with the organization. I remember when March 12, March 13, when the country started shutting down, everyone was really worried about what was going to happen. I worked for the Pittsburgh Symphony Orchestra, and I also was the music director of an orchestra in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And we were all worried about how long this is going to go and what we're going to do. And City of Asylum was worried, but they adapted very quickly. I remember Henry Rees sent me an email a couple of weeks after everything started shutting down, saying we are working on this virtual platform that we want to create and offer to any arts organization in Pittsburgh, so they can continue to deliver mission, they can continue to present performances, because as we know, the opera, the ballet, any performing arts organization, any presenting arts organization was in deep trouble because nobody could go out. So very quickly, City of Asylum was able to turn Alphabet City. I showed you the facade of the building. There's a cultural center inside. It has a restaurant, a bookstore, which we can talk about later. And in the middle, there's a performance space where we have presented more than 600 concerts in the last 4 years, concerts, lectures, films. So basically what they did was adapt the space. They already had cameras and lights. The technology was almost there. So they very quickly shifted and were able to move all the programming completely online. And this happened very quickly. By May 4th, City of Asylum was already presenting programs, and they made it a platform that was available to anyone in Pittsburgh who wanted to be part of the project. So that was called The Show Must Go On Line, in brackets. And there were 79 performances that were presented as part of that program. And we partnered with 20 organizations. Many of those organizations were very small. We are one of the most diverse presenting organizations in Pittsburgh, actually the second most diverse one after the Cultural Trust. And just to tell you in numbers, over 50% of our programs featured Black or minority artists, and over 60% of the programs featured woman artists during that time. So this was really a community building project. We presented some programs that were specifically City of Asylum, but we presented many more with other organizations, just because we know it was a difficult time. And that continued all the way through September. And now we have switched to our regular programming. So yesterday night, we presented our program number 120 since the pandemic started. This year alone, we have presented 155 programs. By the end of the year, we will have presented 165. So if you think about it, we are a fairly new organization and fairly small budget-wise. It's around $1.5 million. Right. We are presenting programs every other day of the year, give or take. So that is the story of the City of Asylum.
Yeah, that's such a great pivot. So do you want to share with us right now a little excerpt from the new musician?
Absolutely. So just to
tell us about her.
Yeah, I'll tell you, she speaks a little bit about herself, but so you understand the first clip you're going to hear. She is a musician and activist from Vietnam, and she was known as the Lady Gaga of Vietnam until she decided to run for office. And the government did not like it very much because she was running on a pro-democracy, anti-censorship platform. And very quickly after she started her political campaign, she started being harassed by the police. And when she was giving a concert, police would show up asking for the venue for permits and all kinds of different things. She met with President Obama when he went to Vietnam to visit, and he wanted to meet with activists. So she was one of them. You can look, there's a great YouTube video clip where you can see Obama talking to the activists, and Mike Coy is sitting right next to him. And apparently Obama told her to be patient and she wrote this song, which starts, you will see it's a very cool guitar she's playing with bass strings. And then she starts getting more and more impatient. I won't tell you more, just watch the clip. It was really cool. So here is my clip.
Do you know what? I wrote this song after I've met with a very powerful, handsome President Obama. This song's called Just Be Patient. That's what he told me in the meeting. Before you came, I dreamt of you. You with your power to make wrongs right. For you, I put myself on the line. Just be patient, just be patient, just be patient, just be patient. Hi everyone, my name is Mai Khoi. I'm a Vietnamese artist activist. I fight for freedom of expression and artist freedom. Because in Vietnam, we don't have freedom of expression. And there is a censorship system that controls artists. I don't agree with that. All of us need to submit the content of our work to the government censor before we can do anything like organizing exhibition, concerts, charity show, or releasing books or music. I think art don't need to be censored. The censorship system needs to be repealed. That's why I fight. Even I am a bad activist, but I still need to become an activist to fight for this right. Because of my activism, I have been threatened all the time by the police. I have been under surveillance. The police was chasing me around Hanoi. I was kicked out of my house. Yeah, I was evicted from my house 2 times. The police raided my concert 2 times. I cannot stay in my country. The longer I stay there, the sooner they will catch me. So I left my country 1 year ago. At that time, the documentary about me had a premiered in Doc NYC, Michael and the Dissident, the name of the documentary. So I flew to New York and I had the residency in New York for 1 year. And then now I'm having the fellowship. I'm now Artist Protection Fund Fellow at Pittsburgh University and City of Asylum.
Wow. Wow. That's great. My hat's off. People are asking about the YouTube link. Is there a link to this? So if Andres, you have a link, maybe you can put that out. If not, is it somewhere on City of Asylum site?
I'll look for it. If you just the link I mentioned was the one with Obama. This one is not up yet, so this is a really a preview for everyone here in this group.
Oh, nice.
You're the first people. You're the first people to watch this.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, just so you can see, people are interested. So that's fine. So there is one question that I would like to be asked. So Jonathan, someone's asking, Brent Rondon is asking a question, and I'd like that to be read. So Andres maybe can answer it or not.
Definitely. So if a book author in Pittsburgh who is from Ghana needs assistance with editing, publishing rights in the US, does your organization help with that type of request?
So we focus on helping exiled writers come to the United States, but I would personally like to help anyone who is here, as an immigrant. I know it is very hard to try to understand how the system works in different countries. So if this person reached out directly to me, I would be more than happy to look into it and help them as much as we can to it. Again, I know it is hard, and it is something that I would like to do personally for this person.
Fantastic.
So there's 2 points I want to sneak in here. There's also a bookstore. So can you talk about the bookstore just a little bit? Because it's really, another gem in the North Side.
It is another gem in the North Side, and the bookstore is connected to City of Asylum. Actually, anytime you buy a book from City of Asylum bookstore, you are supporting our mission. It is basically supporting everything we do. We have a large collection of translated books, but we also have a large collection of books that we find interesting. There is a website for the bookstore. I'm going to share that in a second here. All the books that you can find pretty much anywhere where you can buy books these days, you can order from our website. So even though the bookstore itself and the shelves, we have a lot of books in stock that are translated. We also have books that were originally written in English. And I have to tell you, I have been buying all my books only from City of Asylum bookstore already for like 2 years. Long time before I even thought about being the executive director of the organization, because I know that every dollar I spend would support a cause I believe in. So by buying here, not only are you buying local, you're also helping a non-for-profit, and you're making a big impact in the world. And again, we are now the model for the world. You're helping us make Pittsburgh the model for the world in terms of cities of refuge. Here is the link to City of Asylum bookstore. You can also buy gift certificates there. And Audrey, before we finish the program, you mentioned that today is Giving Tuesday. I'm also going to put a link here in the chat, so you may support our organization. I know these are very difficult times for everyone. If you're able to support, we really appreciate it. We're making a difference. We're making important work together.
No, you absolutely are. And I really wanted to make sure. So what do you want to say before we wrap up, and then we do a little piece again from the artists that you shared with us from Vietnam? What do you want to say to the tech community, and what's in store for 2021?
So to the tech community, first of all, thank you for having me, Audrey. This has been such a pleasure to share the story of City of Asylum with all of you. And we would love to collaborate more with the tech community. As I said, the organization was already thinking in terms of the technology to move virtually very quickly. And I think we were the first organization in Pittsburgh who was able to do so, because we have always thought about what comes next. And we are doing the same right now. We're thinking, okay, so now we know we can stream live. Our gala this year was live. What is next? Is virtual, is augmented reality next? How are the ways in which we can harness technology to reach more people? We found out that by moving online, we have now viewers from 37 different countries worldwide and from 45 states in the United States. People who would not be able to watch a concert live here or a program now are able to do so. And we have had more than 20,000 viewers this year. That's more than last year, and we still have a month to go. So using technology has been very important to us to get through a pandemic, but we are never just sitting and saying, we did a great job. We're always thinking what comes next. So I would love to get your suggestions. If you have any great ideas, crazy ideas, any kind of ideas, put them in the chat, or you can find me at on our website, cityofasylum.org. My email is there. We'd be happy to hear from any of you.
Okay, so I want to thank you, but I also want to use this opportunity to hear a little bit more from the woman that we heard from earlier. And I think she's going to be here for how long?
She's going to be here in Pittsburgh until September of 2021. And we will be having programs with her on our virtual platform, so stay tuned. Something else that I should say is that most of the programs we have presented so far, again, 155 this year, Most of them are available on demand. So if you go to alphabetcity.org, for snow days like today and for the holidays, we're going to be inside. You have 155, give or take, programs that you can watch from your home. And here is the rest of the clip of Mike Hoy. She is going to tell you a little bit about the last song she's going to play.
And now I'm gonna play you the song called Where is Justice? This song I wrote when I joined the Black Lives Matter protest. Hôm nay tôi ra đường đòi công bằng cho anh da đen đã bị giết oan. Công bằng đâu? Công bằng đang ở nơi đâu? Sao cảnh sát cho phép mình tước đi hơi của một người da màu? Công bằng đâu? Công bằng đang ở nơi nào? Ta giờ đang thở than, chính kiến đang vụt ngang. Và những giá trị đang dần dần đổ ngôi.
Wow. I want to thank everyone. I want to thank Andres. I want to welcome Andres to his new position that he's been in for 2 months. cityofasylum.org. Check out their bookstore, check out their work. And remember, we're all connected. Even though we have this amazing, amazing organization right here on the north side of Pittsburgh, we're teaching the world and we're welcoming the world. Andres, my hat's off to you. And of course, love to the founders, Henry Reese and Diane Samuels, and to all the board and people who work really, really hard to drive our place in the world. So thank you all, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you, Audrey.